Hi, Katie. I'm Ron from POC Culture. How are you?
I'm great. Hi, Ron. It's so nice to meet you. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, I'm really excited to chat with you, and particularly so because I always enjoy, professionals like yourself, creatives who had a circuitous path to where you are. It's very nonlinear. But before we get into that kind of unique journey that you've had, I am curious. I know you went to college pre-med. I know
Mhm.
you didn't take your animation class until junior year of college.
Mhm.
But just when you were a kid, like, is there a animated film or show that really just resonated with you and connected with you from a young age?
Yes, absolutely. I was totally a kid that had Little Mermaid on repeat, and then I cycled through a lot of those classic '90s golden age Disney movies or late '80s. So I also loved Beauty and the Beast and Aladdin, and I really grew up with cycling those as my Halloween costumes too. So I was a Disney kid through and through. I'm a big singer, so all of those classic songs are in my head, and yeah, absolutely.
That's great. Those are so you can't go wrong with the classics.
Yeah.
So obviously, I did talk about your path already a little bit, and I think what's so awesome is just how resilient you've been and your perseverance through it all. I heard you talk about moving out to LA, and at some point you were working as a nanny, like didn't even have a career yet in animation. Was there a point where you were like, man, I don't know if I could do this. Like I'm gonna throw in the towel. Like, do you have a recollection of a time when you were this close?
Oh my gosh, yeah. I There were a few times actually. So I as you know, I was pre-med in college and I just kind of took an animation elective to get my feet wet. But at the end of school, I definitely didn't have enough work or I hadn't had enough training to actually get a job in animation. So I had applied around and gotten zero word back and kind of thought, oh, maybe this isn't going to happen. And then I happened to get a job in live action for NBC as a page. So that was the year, but I kind of realized, wait, I still really want to do animation. How do I do animation? So then that's when I started looking at grad school. And I applied to a bunch of schools, and the first ones I heard back from were no's. So that again was a moment where I thought, oh, shoot, how do I do this? How do I break in? And luckily, Savannah College of Art and Design, SCAD, did take me. So I had that lifeline, but there are absolutely moments of doubt. And then just, yeah, specializing in animation, it takes years to get the right mastery. So again, my first real jobs in animation were as production assistants, which is not being an animator. So it still took a little bit of time to get over. And I studied a little bit of extra animation on nights and weekends, and it was a journey for sure.
Yeah, and the reason that I'm starting there with you is because I think so many people who are not in the industry, they just think like, oh, it's so glamorous, it's so amazing, and must have been so easy. I want to do that, but I think it's so important for people to hear the struggle, the grind that you were on, which I really respect. And so here we are, right? You've gotten a chance, you went through all that, and made it. And you've gotten to work on some really amazing projects, Rock Price Internet and Raya and the Last Dragon, and here we are with Moana too. Like, um, as you look back on your journey and being able to work on, especially recently with Raya and Moana 2, these like AAPI focused stories,
Yeah.
like how much more impactful is it for you to be able to not only just get to work in animation, but to tell these types of stories?
Oh my gosh, it means everything to me, really. Like that, knowing how important these characters are and representation is on the big screen, it's hard to put into words. It's intangible, like the gut feeling of what it means to me. And we live in this age of the internet where you can see audience reactions to your work, and you can see little kids dressed as the characters, and or your character is somebody's security toy, and it just, oh gosh, it really makes me cry sometimes. And especially the posts where you see somebody reacting to their people being portrayed in a Disney film for the first time. It just really hits home the huge impact these films have. So I definitely bring something extra when I animate those kinds of characters. And I have this extra drive to really be, do those characters and cultures justice and do my research and try to get every little bit of ounce of authenticity as I can, whether it's for a dance and wanting to get the nuances of the choreography right, or behaviorisms too that are specific to those cultures. Yeah, I definitely love when I get cast these kinds of projects.
Yeah, it's like you said, when you were a kid, you were doing all the Halloween costumes of all these Disney classics, and
Mhm.
now so many kids get to do that with these characters, and I think that's so powerful. Um,
Exactly. Yeah.
you talked about bringing that extra, doing that extra research. For Moana 2, could you talk a little bit about maybe some of the preparation and research that you did to ensure the authenticity?
Yeah, so without wanting to give a total spoiler, I will say I worked on one of the final sequences of the film when different islanders are finally reaching Motefatu, and we pulled from various cultures like the Solomon Islands and Satawal Islands and Tahiti. And so I knew that those cultures have different ways of wayfinding, different vessels, different canoes, and definitely did my research to kind of look up at any footage I could find, any photos I could find to see, okay, how are people posed on these boats? How do they work? So that's one example. And then I did a bit of marketing. I had a dance for a marketing piece. And actually, it was really fun. I got to Zoom with our choreographer, Tiana, and we featured two different kinds of dance in that marketing piece. And I really wanted to make sure I got every bit right, all of the hand gestures and the way the footwork works and how careful the toes land um and where the eyes looking around. And I yeah, definitely really want to make sure I give it everything I can to make sure the authenticity is real. And I think you can feel that in the film. I'm really proud of the work that our whole team does to really like craft every frame and make sure it's as like respectful and authentic as it can be.
I love that. And it's so important. And that's the painstaking detail of animation that you'll have to go there. I think you really,
Totally.
shared that. It's so challenging. I can never fully grasp it, but I do agree that it came through. Um, and,
Good.
one of the things that you talked about in other interviews is that, like, for example, Frozen 2, which you worked on, like when you heard like kids singing Some Things Never Change or doing like a video online, like that really, you're like, I worked on that.
Yeah.
Is there anything on from Moana 2 that you're like, or that you've seen online, or that you've heard people sing that you're like, I worked on that. That's so great, like impactful.
Yeah, oh my gosh. Yeah, so I mentioned that sequence with the Islanders arriving to Motefatu, and I've seen actual reactions from those people to those shots, and they're crying sometimes, or they're just so excited, and that has made my year. I won't even say it's made my day. I'm like so thrilled to see that. Um, and man, it just, yeah, that really just means everything. I'm trying to think if there's others, but anytime like uh, a clip from, or like even a screenshot from one of my shots is out there and it gets like, you'll see fan accounts on Instagram and it's
Yeah.
just like how much like we love Moana, and if it's a clip of a shot I did, I'm like, oh good, like I am so glad that it resonates. Um and then anytime you go to the parks and you see kids walking around in a costume of a character you did. And I can't, yeah, I haven't been back to the park since Moana 2 came out, but I'm looking forward to it to see those costumes kind of start percolating through. And yeah, so definitely it's really fun.
Yeah, the parks, I love when there's that integration because it really brings it to life for not just kids but everybody. So I'm definitely, I love seeing Moana or Raya at the parks.
Mhm,
Um,
mhm.
Now, talking a little bit more broadly, you do, I've heard your podcast, Animation Happy Hour.
Oh,
I appreciate that I feel like you really care about giving back, like lifting up the community, helping to open doors for other people. So I won't spoil that podcast because people should listen to it. You have some great
thank
tips
you
with
so
your
much.
colleagues, yeah, and your husband. But if you have one tip for like particularly the women and AAPI women aspiring to be in animation? Like, what would be, give me a teaser that will send people to your podcast.
Oh gosh, I that's really a good question because that's part of why I did the podcast is because I have too many to so it's like I need to do a brain dump. But I think my one tip would be um, that it takes time. It's not going to be like there's a switch flipped and you can learn something. You can take one class and you're done. It will take time and it will test you. But just know that if you just keep going, you can get there. Like, I think I remember like when I made the switch, there's kind of, I had this false idea that oh, I could just know everything if I take one class. Like and it's really a skill that you spend your whole life learning and getting better at. So that was the secret was, oh, okay, this is just like going to med school or something. This is a skill that takes years and years to learn and years to specialize in. And yeah.
No, I love that. And again, I think that's what people need to know. Now, my
Mhm.
last question for you before we wrap is, what's your dream project? Like what else do you what kind of story would you love to kind of tackle and tell?
Oh gosh, that's great. I would absolutely love to do a mixed race, like half a character. I have yet to do that. I kind of missed, I was after a Big Hero 6, so I missed that. And I would love to tackle, yeah, another, again, yeah, a character who looks like me or who reminds me of my family.
That's awesome. Yes, that's an awesome answer. Well, Katie, it's so great talking with you, and I definitely look forward to that upcoming Disney film about a mixed race family and character
Thank
and your work,
you.
and I'll chat with you
I'll
then.
start pitching it now.
That sounds great. Congratulations on the film and enjoy your work.
Thanks so much, John. It was such a joy to talk to you. Amazing questions.
Thank you. Thank you.